Okay, now the next thing that we're going to do, let's go back and let's look at the middle configuration. Double click. And now we're going to double click on the intake. There's its configuration. And now we're going to create the exhaust configuration. So we know by our input that the exhaust block is identical except for the 4 holes are tapped 256. So all we have to do is suppress these 4 and put in 4 256 holes with the shared sketch that we used. So what we'll do is we'll go to, let's go and edit the table. And we know that we want the middle pass. So we're going to make it computed. The intake matching, we're going to allow, that's this one. Let me see. Intake matching, we're actually going to suppress those because these are the ones that we want to be 256 threaded holes. And then just the intake hole, that's going to be the same as the exhaust hole, so we're going to compute it. Doggone it. And say OK. So let it save that. I'm going to go and double click exhaust. Now you see that we have this hole, which is going to be used for exhaust. This one will be used for the valve guide to be pressed in. Now all we need are 4 tapped holes that'll be tapped all the way through, so it doesn't matter from which side, and we'll use those from the shared sketch. So I'm going to set visibility. I'm going to make some holes. I'm going to gather these with control. We're going to make these tapped. We're going to make them through all. And these are going to be number 2s, 56, which are coarse thread. And we're going to say OK. So now we've got our whole other part created. So let's go back to the intake. Okay, here's a problem. I never did go back and edit the table, and so now I have threaded holes with these holes over the top of them. So remember that? I have my threaded holes in here. Now I need to go in here and go back to the exhaust configuration. And I'm going to go to hole 8 and I'm going to call it tapped. Tapped matching. Because I suppressed intake matching on this one, I got to go back to the other 2 and add this one feature, tap matching, and I need to exclude it from the other 2 configurations. So I'm going to edit the table. And this one, I'm going to add one more. It's going to be called tap matching under suppression. Sorry, it's always under suppression. If you do parameters, then it's going to add all the different dimensions. So we're going to go to tapped matching, and we're going to say suppress in each of the upper configurations because we don't want tapped matching holes in the upper configurations. Control C, Control V. Okay? Alright, so now I'm going to go to intake, middle, and now I have exhaust, and they're all in the same part. So when you have a part that it can be configured to many different situations, then this is what you might make as an eye part. So think about like a screw. You might make a screw an eye part with different size heads, different threads, and you can do that with different diameters. This one we're going to use features. Right? That concludes our eye part. This is due the next class.